What is up, everybody? It's Friday. It's almost the weekend. Tyler is closer to the weekend than I am. It's afternoon out there in Alabama. Tyler is the Campus and Academic Technology Administrator at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, everybody. And we're excited to have UAB here with us. Jonathan is their Customer Success Manager and my partner in crime today. And as Tyler and team are pretty lucky to have Jonathan because he's one of the best. With that, we're talking about some cool stuff today, really diving into Canvas data. How can you make sure that you're using data effectively to be able to help your educators and to be able to help your students? Tyler is an absolute master at this. And so we are going to, don't do that, Tyler. If I say that, you're a master. Tyler is a master at using Canvas data. So what we're going to do is have him just dive through the ins and outs of what they're doing. He's got some fun links to share with you. He's got some SQL that he's going to show you. We're gonna really nerd out for the next 30 minutes, everybody. So with that, Tyler, I'm handing it over to you, my friend.
All right, thank you very much. I do have a quick little PowerPoint. We're not going to go in there very long, but I do have a quick one, so we'll start with that. And so thanks everyone again for allowing us to be here. This has kind of been a long project for the past year. I think we started about a year ago, kind of looking into this. And so we're excited to kind of share what we've done, and this is something I've been sharing with Jonathan. We've been kind of bouncing around ideas for, I guess almost a year now. So it's great to kind of see it, to be able to share with everybody else as well. So just a quick slide real fast. So I'm in the Division of E-Learning and Professional Studies at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. I am the Canvas administrator and also administrator of a lot of our academic technologies as well. So we are kind of we're a centralized service, so we do training and support faculty and students. We do academic Canvas academic technology support for faculty and students. We also have a full instructional design team, a full media production team. We're also we also run Quality Matters out of our office, and then research market viability. We also have a whole professional studies instance as well of Canvas that we use to offer professional studies courses and continuing ed courses, and then also state authorization runs through our office as well. And then also too, we have a lot of several collaborative. This is maybe not all, but some of the collaborative partnerships that we've got across campus. And so just thank you to these people as well. These are some of the departments that we're working with. And then also quickly, I have to say thank you to these people. So in our office, our executive director, Dr. Pam Pashian, our deputy director, Samir Lauzai, my right-hand man, Jared Watson, our instructional technologist, and then our enterprise applications team, Daniel Jones, Alan Kelly, Johnny Jones, Ala Fedora, and then our data operations information technology, Leslie Newell. So these people, it was a collaborative effort to get to where we are on our data project. So it wasn't just me. It was, me leaning on these people to help me kind of figure out where it was going. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today, is like that it can be a big project for everyone. And so I always have to say thank you to these people as well. So real quick, we're going to go over some slides just so you guys can kind of see where we're going. But then we're going to jump into the actual what the data looks like in Tableau. So we were fortunate enough to have a university license at UAB with Tableau. So that's what I use to use the visualizations. So we're going to look at that. I got a copy of one of the SQL that we wrote that's kind of been the driving factor of our project. And so I'll share that as well. And then at the end of this, if anybody wants a copy of the workbook or the copy of the SQL, you're more than welcome to email me. I think we can post my email at the end, but you're more than welcome to email me, and we can, I'd love to share what we've done. I do want to preference that all this data is fake. It is completely fake, randomized data. There, while it may look like it's UAB's data, it is not, no way connected to real data from UAB. I took the theory or the headers that I would have gotten from a regular SQL output and then completely randomized the data and the names in Excel. So while it may look real, it is completely fake and in no way actually connected to real data from our Canvas LMS. So jumping in real quick, the first thing is getting the data, right? So what are ways that you can get the data from Canvas. If you don't see the data portal, Canvas data portal, that's something you can reach out to your CSM on, and they can turn that feature on for you. What that's going to do is allow you to see, you turn on that Canvas data portal, you're going to get a list of your admins that's in your Canvas LMS, and you can kind of see who has access to download, edit, pull that data. So that's kind of step one, is, go from there. If you have the ability, Canvas Data Services is a great option for you. So they have a great team and can do some consulting for you and help you get that set up, especially if you have the ability to run that data through Amazon Web Services. It's a pretty simple setup, real fast response rate. And so that is definitely one option. And I think Mark's going to drop some links in the chat for us. We grabbed a couple from the Canvas community has a really good article on the Canvas Data Services. So you can do that. Theoretically, you could download the data directly from Canvas as a CSV file. It's very large. I would kind of caution against that, but you could for sure. I think if you download that, it's actually in one of the community forum articles. You would have to go back and put the headers in there. So more manual work, but if you kind of just wanted to know what a table looked like, you definitely could do that. And then you can kind of do what we're doing. So we are thankful to have, with the help of some partnerships across campus and outside of campus, we are able to actually pull and store our data locally through a SQL server. And so that's where we went. And so that's what we're doing. It's been really good. We pull it down once a day. It's about a 24 to 48 hour delay right now, as far as how up to date the data is. But if you've not already checked out Canvas Data 2.0, that's on the community forum, check it out. So the 24 to 48 hour delay is also from Canvas as well, but the new Canvas Data 2.0 is going to be I think they're saying 4-hour actual delay from the time you download. So that could be a serious game changer for us, and so that's something we're kind of looking forward to in the future. So once you've got your data, right, the next step is really just identify what tools you're going to use, right? So I always tell people, no matter what office you're in, reach out across campus. So before I came to UAB, I was lucky enough to employed at Auburn University, where I also got my degrees, and I was always looking across campus to find people that were doing projects like me, what tools they're using. And so when I came here, kind of doing the same thing, so if you're on campus at a university, or community college, even K-12, ask around like, hey, what do we have license to, right? What can we use? What are people using? At the end of the day, it's just data, right? And there's so many options. And again, one of those Canvas community articles does a really good job explaining, the different tools you can use. So these are what I use, but if you're familiar with R or any other statistical software, you kind of can do the same stuff. But we're lucky enough to have Tableau desktop and Tableau online. And so that's the route I went. You could obviously recreate all this in Excel if you really wanted to. And then, once you figure out your visual aids, the next thing is just get a connection to your database. And so I personally use Microsoft SQL Server because we were on a SQL server. And so that's really where I do a lot of my first round work. And I'll kind of talk through that, but that's really what I use first. And once I get what I know I want, then I kind of go into the visual aids section. So the next thing is fact checking. And again, we'll kind of show this. We're going to show the Canvas data schema page. But if you're really getting into it, once you get your database connection and you get a copy of all the tables and the views, then it's just write some SQL and see what you get. And so the beauty of having the Canvas data is you have the validator right there in the Canvas LMS. And so the data that you write, you can go straight to the LMS and validate that data, which is, to me, just a great option, right? So I always say, like, start small and then validate that data. So maybe you just want to go in and say, okay, I'm going to pull all of this, the assignment names for this course in Canvas, right? And so I write my SQL and say, okay, looking at this, I'm going to grab this course. I'm going to grab the list of the assignments table, and I'm going to dump this and give me all the assignment names. And then I can go to that course and look and see what that looks like. And so, make some test courses. And so use that as an option and kind of see what it looks like. And then, the next thing is find resources and ideas, right? So how we, the Canvas community was, to me, how I got started. And I think there's a couple articles that I sent to Mark and Jonathan so they can post. Those are really the ones that got me started. One of them, I think, has got a Canvas community article that's a full zip of like 10 or 15 Tableau workbooks. And really that's what got me over the hump, right? Because you got all this data and you got the connection, but then what do we do with it? And so with that, you can, to me, those workbooks just kind of showed me, okay, this is what they're actually doing, right? And so they're doing this and this, and this is how they're getting that results. And so if you can get your hands on a workbook from somebody else, that's a really great place to start. And then, so I'm using Tableau, and so also the Tableau online community, because at the end of the day, once you get your data connection, then it's just making views, right? So I was constantly I was just Googling, dashboard views for, Fortune 500 companies, or dashboard views on how to tell this story. Because at the end of the day, you're just telling a story, right? You've got the data, you know what you're looking at, and then it's how do we tell this in a visual way that makes it easy for everyone. And then, like everything else in the world, as we're also broadcasting on YouTube right now, YouTube was a big thing for me as well. There's tons of stuff out there in the community. Watch some videos, do some training. And that's really kind of where I started. And then I always have to say, don't forget to ask for help, right? So identify those campus partners. So for me, it was the enterprise applications team, the data analytics people. So I knew these people existed on campus. And so it really just was taking that step to say, hey, this is what I'm working on. Can you help me? And so I can't tell you how many times I got stuck, and, just being able to know someone else is out there that could just get me over that one little spot really just kind of changed it for us. And then the last thing is launch day. These are kind of like my 7 steps. And the last thing is launch day. Like eventually, set a date, say this is when we're going to launch it, and then get your feedback. So for us, it happened a lot quicker than we thought. So, we were having this project going, and it was all kind of full steam ahead, didn't really have an end date. And then, come March, due to COVID-19, we went completely online, and that kind of really jump started our process, right? Because then, like, we needed analytics right then to show people. And so that's really kind of where this report visualization came out of, right? So my boss needed numbers and that were going to get reported to the provost. And so we needed some numbers to know what was kind of going on in our LMS, as far as just usage, really not really anything else besides just what our course is being used, that not being used, what's our daily progress. And so that's really kind of how this got launched. And then from there, we just collected feedback and kept working. I try to follow sort of an agile method. So I'm going to put something out there and quickly edit it if I need to, and then always be making revisions. So yeah, that's really kind of the 7 steps that I kind of had, but really I wanted to jump in. So let me drop that, and drop this and pull this one up right here. So really I just wanted to jump in and show you guys what we made. So here's the final product right here, right? So this is our course breakdowns dashboard, right? So this is right now, this is currently available to my team, and to my executive director and our deputy director. And so this is our dashboard that they can access via Tableau online. So that's one of the benefits that we've made, that we posted it there. And that's where they can go view it. And again, this data is completely fake, but this is almost exactly what it looks like on our end, but with real data. And so what we kind of have here is we've kind of got a total courses right here, right? So this is going to tell us how many courses do we have right now in the system, right? So that's just looking, is this course, does it exist, right? And then from there, we broke it down and we said, okay, what are active courses and what are inactive courses? And I do want to take a pause here and say that if you haven't worked with your CSM to get like more up-to-date reports of your EBR reports, because they use Tableau, do that, because that's kind of how we got to this point, right? So I met with Jonathan a bunch. He would give me a copy of the EBR, and we'd kind of see what they were kind of reporting on. I kind of used that for the same thing, right? So then from there, we kind of said, okay, well, what is an active course? And for us, it was one teacher was enrolled and one student was enrolled with activity, right? So because to me, the one student enrolled with activity shows the course is published, right? So you could have a course that a teacher's enrolled, and you could have a course that a student's enrolled, but if they don't have activity, well, that indicates that this course is not being used. So that's what we're looking for. Like, do we have courses that have teachers enrolled, and do they have courses that have a student enrolled with activity? So, go ahead.
Tyler, I want to back up just a little bit, just for those who are just joining us. Help us understand, where did this all come from? So what are the questions that your executive directors and team members
So that's a good
were
question.
trying to answer?
I think for us, especially because of the COVID environment, what happened with COVID and stuff, it's really what was the lift, right? So we're lucky we're an institution that already had at least one student, at least every student was had taken at least at least 50% of our students had taken at least one online class, right? And we're already doing a lot with online courses. So we have a lot of several online course majors. And so that really, it wasn't a crazy lift, but it was still a lift, right? When we went, the whole university became completely online, right? So that was a question we had was, okay, now that we're completely online, we're getting more Canvas usage. What does our usage look like, right? And so initially we were getting the report from you guys, the EBR, and that one's a great report. But that report's really showing more of usage by the students, right? So it's going to say like, okay, 90% of my students are viewing a module, right? And so that's more of like what's going on in the actual course. And so I wanted to take the next level and say, okay, well, how many courses are using modules, right? Because then I can take my data and compare it with Canvas data, and we've got a bigger report, right? So Canvas is going to give me their report, right? It's going to say, okay, we know that 70% of your students, if you have a module, 70% of the students have viewed that module, right? Well, then I can say, okay, well, how many courses are using modules, right? So in this case, I'll show you in a second, but I could say, okay, if I know that if 80% of my courses are using modules, then I can look at Canvas data and say, okay, of that 80%, 70% of those of students are looking at them, right? So it's kind of a comparison of both. But that was the big thing, was like, what I think really kind of what it came out of was like, what's the lift, right? What was the lift we needed to do to get everyone online? And to me, this was kind of what it was that kind of showed us where we were smaller, where we were higher, like what all needed to be done in that area. And so really that's where that active courses came from, right? We wanted to know how many courses are being used right now. And then we knew the inactive courses. And I don't have it in here, but I could. In my other report, I had actually a list of inactive courses so we could drill down deeper and see where those actually fell. And then from here, we just kind of broke it down and we targeted, okay, how many courses have at least one module? How many have at least one assignment? How many have courses with quizzes, pages? And so we just wanted to know, like, what was the actual usage going on? And then, so from here, we built in this nice filter. So over here on the left, we can break it down by your school college. So if we wanted to know what was going on in the College of Business, we could change that. And now we've got a whole breakdown of what's going on in the College of Business, right? So we can see a lot differently, right? If we wanted to know what was going on in your School of Engineering, you could break it down. Again, you've got a whole different breakdown here. And then you can even drill down in departments as well, which is right here. So that's, and then we actually even brought into semesters. Go ahead.
Tyler, I'm so interested in this. This is super cool. And we're getting some cool comments in here, like Ethan on LinkedIn that's saying, looks great. It's good to see we're on the right lines with our own Canvas data usage. Well done. We've got Diane here who is asking on YouTube, Tyler, is this active for current term or is it historical?
So we actually are doing current term. And so I didn't bring it into this one. So, but this one is only showing the summer term, that was the fake data, but I'm actually bringing in current term as well. And so you can, with mine, you can actually drop back and see what went on in the spring, but I'm bringing in current term as well, because I want to know what that lift is, what's going to happen as we keep going forward. And I'll show you what's happening on the back end in a second and why that's important. But I'm bringing in the current term as well. And so right now it gets replaced every day because we replace our data. Our our next step is how can we daily or monthly download a copy of the Tableau report, right? So then we can make something that's more historical, because that's the kind of the one thing we're missing right now is over time, right? So I can show you what's going on right now, but I can't roll back and show you this was February, this was March, this was January. That's something that the Canvas EBR report can do. We just don't have that right now. We have it in our works to do next. So then we can actually go back and show you monthly, right? So that's kind of where, so if you're doing the current term, right, that might change depending on how you're pulling your data. But yeah, so this is how you can filter in here. But then I also wanted to bring in this course search, right? So I want to know, let's say if I'm in the College of Arts and Sciences, and I wanted to know what was going on with course 100, right? So let me come in here and let me filter this down a little bit more so I don't get everything. But right here, so this is called a parameter search in Tableau. And so if you set this up, if I was looking for course 100, I could type in that name. Let's see, I don't think it wants me to say, actually, let's do it this way. Let's go back to here, and then let's look up a business. See if it'll let me look up a business course. It's always when you try to do something, it always fails. Let's see if that'll work. All right. Well, it's not working, and that's always how it is because with a demo. But this is actually a live search. So as you type into here, it would break down and search this field box right here, and it's going to only show you the course you're looking for. And one thing we did was add these right here, where this is basically just a Tableau feature where that's a 1 or a 0, and we replace it with a check mark. And so what this is basically saying is I could look at this course and say, okay, quickly, do they have modules? Yes. Are they assignments? No. And so you kind of get like a running total right here. So really, that gets really beneficial. So let's say you were in education, and then you wanted to drill down to the kinesiology program, right? You could quickly drill down and see, okay, here's all of the kinesiology courses, right? And here's what's going on. So yeah, they're all using quizzes, but we've got some that aren't using discussions, right? So that was kind of the other thing we were looking for, was like, okay, how can we do a little bit of analytics? How can we drill down a little bit and see what's going on with the information? And so that was kind of our second step right there.
So, Tyler, we've got our friend Kat here who's saying my not so inner data geek is loving this.
Right.
Yeah, I love that.
Shout out to you, Kat. So what I'm interested in is really finding actionable insight from these reports. So often I think that people can feel like there's so much data and so much information that there's almost paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
What is it that your team is doing to make this stuff actionable? what kind of insights are you pulling out? How are you sharing it with teachers or administrators to be able to make the education experience better?
Right. So right now it's still kind of we're still very young in this report. So it came out and really started using it in March, April, May. So right now it's being shared with administrators. That's kind of where it is right now. So my boss gets a copy of this every day. And so I'll show you guys, let me see right here. There's a nice little feature. If you're getting to use Tableau, you can do a subscribe button right here, right? So if you do this subscribe button, it actually emails you something very similar to this right here in an email, and it takes a snapshot every day, right? So that's really kind of where we are right now, is it gets to go to my boss, the executive director, and then she's sharing that with, with the deans and the provost and stuff like that. And so that's kind of where it is right now. And then from there, it kind of trickles down from there to, do what they want with it. And so that's kind of where we are right now. I can't really speak to where we're going next, but, I'm hoping that the more transparent we can get, the better, right? So I think, again, we're kind of young in its infancy right there as far as where it is. So right now it's still being shared kind of just at an administrative level. But it's been super helpful just to kind of know, again, with us, it was really just kind of came out of kind of moving online and saying, okay, what does our usage look like? What do we need to do? Like, where are we lacking from there? And then the other thing we built was this activity donut, right? So if you've ever got an EBR report from Canvas, I could not take credit for this. I stole this idea from you guys. But as Steve Jobs says, real artists steal. So, I can only give you guys credit to the design. But what we built right here was a quick little donut chart And again, it's kind of the same thing, but we can break this down. It's connected to the other charts. Let me clear that out right here. Let me come back over here real quick and clear this one out. Actually, I got to get out of this. There we go. So if you come over here, again, we've kind of got the same thing. It's a little bit better numbers, right? So we've got number of active courses that have at least one module created and published. Number of active courses that have at least one created discussion, right? So these are my donut chart, and I can do the same thing. So this is going to give my high level stuff, right? So I can come into here and say, what's going on in public health, right? What's going on at the main university level? And so these numbers will change dynamically based on what we're choosing. And then you can even drill down deeper. So we could say what's going on in the 10-week term, you know, in the chemistry department, right? And so you can drill down a little bit deeper and see what's going on as well. So that's really kind of the two reports that we really jumped into. Was this one, which is kind of like your high level, right? These are sort of your actionable items, right? If you needed to know, okay, what's my active courses? You got that. What's my breakdown? What's an actual course what's going on in this actual course? That's right there. But then you could also jump into just kind of high level theory, like, okay, just in general, what's going on in these courses and, you know, as a department as a whole. So that's really, you know, that's the kind of the overview of the report and what it looks like. And if we don't have any questions, I'll jump in and we can show you the sequel if you guys are ready for that, which is I'm pretty proud of it. So I'll show you guys.
And Tyler, while you're pulling that up, just a quick comment from your friend Jared Watson, who says, helps us know if our websites, guides, and training is working. We do a modules workshop at UIB. This helps us know if that is reaching our instructors, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that's a
great comment, Jared.
Thanks, Jared. So again, Jared Watson, our each other's right-hand man. So thanks. Great point on that. So let me quickly just, you know, we're going to get a little technical here for a second. Please, you know, don't trail off if you're non-technical, because this is, if you've never looked at the Canvas data schema, you should definitely take a look at this, right? This is where, you know, obviously this is where everything is. So this is where I started looking at. And so this is kind of showing you where everything's coming from. So the course, this course dimension, this is the driving factor of everything that we're doing right now. And so this is where it came from. And this was the sequel. And so I'll kind of go over this in a kind of a broad aspect, but this is the code that we wrote. We wrote on this one till we got it right. We thought we got it right, but this is our driving factors. This is our sequel that says, okay, go find active courses, right? Because we use our LMS for other stuff. We use it for not just academic. We use it for resource courses, sandbox courses. So you don't want to pull those in, right? If you're pulling those in, that's going to skew your data a little bit. And so the way we wrote this, we felt like we've targeting it pretty good. And so basically, we're going through a couple of those tables, and the first thing we're looking for is, okay, is there a teacher enrollment? But not only is there a teacher enrollment, is that teacher active, right? And then the next thing we're looking at is, okay, is there students enrolled, but is the student enrollment active, right? So that's the second thing we're looking for. So we're saying, okay, go in this enrollment table of this course. Let's find the student, if there's a student enrollment, at least one, and let's see if it's active. And the next thing we're looking for is saying, okay, now that we know all that, let's get that student enrollment and let's see if there's activity, right? Because if there's no activity, at least in one student, then the course is not useful for us. So that's kind of the driving factor. And then there's a little bit in the where clause basically saying, you know, making sure that the type is student and enrollment, and then making sure. So this was the question that we had earlier, the terms, right? So this is what we're doing. We're coming in here and we're saying, okay, give me every term that's 2020 and every term that's 2019, which does pull back a lot of data, but then we can really, in the big report, we can just change around and it just moves around completely. And then the final thing we did was say, okay, we're looping through all this data. We're saying, okay, if it exists, give it a 1. If not, give it a 0. And at the end, only pull back if it's greater than a 1 and greater than student and teacher counts are greater than 1s. And so really what we're doing here is, so when we looked at Tableau, if you've ever looked at it, if you connect them with Tableau, you'll get a list of all your tables on the left, right? And all your views. So one way you could do was drag all those views over and try to join them all together. Well, if you're doing that, it's going to, depending on your connection, you may have a long load time. And so what we're trying to do is our next step is to take code like this and write it on the back end. So before it ever comes to me, I have a whole new view built off this right here, right? So it's a lot more cleaner, right? And so instead of like, yeah, yes, I'm going to have a course dim view, but now I'm going to have a view called active students, right? And I know that table is going to be this right here. And so that's really what we did. This is kind of our driving factor. It's this SQL right here. This is our view. This is going to pull back all of our data. And then from there, we took Tableau and did a few more joins so we could get some numbers. But this was kind of like our big push right here was this data right here. And so, you know, what that does, it kind of gives you an output of numbers. And then from there, we got into Tableau and wrote some code. And so if you've ever played with Tableau, I'll show you guys what we're doing. Now, granted, I had to change this up a little bit because it is using fake data. But for the most part, you know, it's the same stuff where, give me a second. It's always going to take a little bit to load here. So this was our donut chart, right? And so the big driving factor are these numbers right here, right? So we created our own calculations, right? So we've got all this data, but then what are we doing with it, right? So we wrote a calculation right here that's looking for, now granted, I'm using fake numbers, so I had to change this, but theoretically you'd be looking for nulls, right? So if it was a null, that doesn't exist, or otherwise you get a 1. And so that's kind of what we did. We just wrote these little checks, right? Because we've already pulled in the data. So we're not really letting Tableau, we're not using Tableau to do all the joins, right? We're using Tableau just to bring in the SQL and then making the calculations. We're using SQL Server to pre-write all the major heavy lifting. And so when it comes to Tableau, it's really just pre-curated data. You definitely could use Tableau to help curate the data, but I find it's easier. And also I found it was easier to query the data on the back end before you ever get into Tableau, because just get the raw numbers and then just kind of, you know, that's how I can spot check. And then once I was spot checking, then I was like, okay, now I'm ready to build out my visualizations. And so from here, this is what we did. And I'm happy to share this with anyone who wants it, because this was, you know, it is definitely several layers deep. But again, you know, you kind of build all this out. This was a nice little donut chart. I found this one on YouTube. There was a great tutorial on that one. Taught me how to build the donut chart. And then from there, it's just making the dashboards and everything else. And that's another benefit of Tableau, if you're able to use it, you know, is that it has all these different dashboards. And so you can make phone versions, iPad versions. You can download the mobile app and connect to the mobile app. And so it's got a lot of great opportunities there as well.
So Tyler, more great comments coming in. Our friend Travis Thurston from out of Utah State University is saying, love how you're using Canvas data. Comment here from Pam, who I'm guessing is one of your colleagues. Mm-hmm. It helps know what tools are being actively used in the courses and areas we can focus on to increase engagement between faculty and students, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
that's the fact that you're looking at this data and saying, okay, here's some changes we ought to make to be able to increase the engagement between students and instructors is right on. Congratulations.
Yep. That's that's our executive director, Dr. Pam Poshian, made that comment. So that's a great comment. Like I said, this is really kind of, the data goes to her to kind of share. And so, that's it's a great comment. And again, I kind of follow back up what Jared was saying too. So we do tons of workshops in the fall. I'll share it real fast. So I'm always down to share our website. So if you look at our website, uab.edu/elearning, and you go to our e-learning workshops, right? So here's all the workshops that we've done and the ones that we've previously done. And so, like I said, this is also a driving factor. You know, if we're doing a thing on modules and then we see an increase in module usage, like that's showing, okay, did this work? Like, you know, and so, or, you know, we're looking at this and saying, okay, our module usage is down. Maybe we need to do another workshop on that. So there's definitely some information there that's definitely driving us as well.
So interesting. So Dr. Pam, if you're still listening, and Tyler, we got to talk deeper. So Jonathan's going to get on that because I'd love to highlight this just kind of industry leading stuff that you're doing, because it's cool. It's really, really cool. Albert here on YouTube, Tyler, is asking, have you been able to do a report on how much time students are spending in Canvas daily? Time logged in, time logged out, etc.
Yeah. So that's really kind of like if you had to ask me where are we going next, right? So the next is like, okay, now that we got some kind of know what's going on here, like could we use it for more investigation or like kind of seeing what's going on with the usage and all that. And so that's really kind of where we're working at next. So daily login is definitely there. The only issue that we come across is, so if you're not used to the Canvas data tables, this table right here, so this is the request table. And so if you look at this, right, so if you break this down, or if you're a Canvas admin or you've ever had the ability to see what a Canvas admin sees, there's a table where I can look at a user and I can see their page views, right? So we can see what all they've looked at. Well, this is basically that, right? And so it tracks everything as far as their clicks. And so it's definitely there. I guess you could dive in deeper there, but I mean, if you've ever queried this, I could query this for one day and I think it would be, up to 5 million rows that come back. And so it's a lot of data. And so we haven't got into that yet. We haven't really got into the request data yet, just because of the sheer volume of information that's on there. It's definitely a possibility. And so that's kind of what we're looking at next, is really, that is on our radar of, okay, usage, but then, I found one report that was somebody, in that one I sent out, that somebody's looking at teacher comments versus student comments. So there's definitely a lot in there. In our current state, I have found that because we have a 24 to 48 hour delay from when our data gets to us, you kind of have to be a little bit more cautious on, I guess, what you're looking at there, because it definitely, what you see could be completely different to what's going on right now. And so that's a little bit different. And so in that aspects, I'm, kind of a little bit more historical, but it's definitely, now that we know that we can do that, the next step would be like, okay, how can we do a little bit more just-in-time analytics, and harvesting the power of Tableau online. So, the ability of Tableau is that it can actually give certain people different views, right? So how can we build those dashboards for certain departments, right? I think that's where we're going next. It's like, what could we do here that only these people have access to, and they can drill down and all that.
Love it. So you may have noticed when Tyler was just sharing that e-learning screen for UAB, you may have noticed a little tab back there that talked about Canvas Con online, which is coming up. There you go. There it is. October 15th. If you haven't ever attended a Canvas Con or a Instructure Con before, it's an incredible event. This year's obviously a little different because we can't be in person together. It's free, as in $0. It's not costing you a penny. Well worth taking that day as a PD day if you can. Sign up. The last day to sign up is October 9th, and that's going to be a pretty hard and fast rule. I would hate for people to not be able to get in. You've got to be able to participate that day to get some of the cool swag that's coming out. And let me assure you that the swag is going to be off the hook. It's cool. So with that, make sure you register. I just popped a link in the comments so that everybody registers. Tyler, what else do you got for us?
That I think that's pretty much it as far as, what my report and what it looks like. Again, I can answer some more questions if anybody has any specific questions. Really, I just wanted to be able to.
Tyler.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it was a high level question just because I love this session, and just to give everyone some background and to preface my question. You said earlier that we've been working together for about a year, and so everyone knows I'm fairly new to Canvas. I'm a noob, so it's been a year, and I've always been intimidated by data. I like data, like Cat Flippin said. There's a data geek inside me that loves data, but I still am intimidated. So when you put SQL files up, I get tense, and then when I see donuts and pie charts, I get happy, and that might be because it's getting close to lunch. But so what would you say to someone like me who's right there on the edge? And I've learned so much from you guys and the UAB in general about Canvas data, but for someone who's still intimidated but really wants to get in there with the data and Storytel, high level, bring it back, what would you say to me?
So I would say, use that link that I sent you. One of the Canvas community ones. Let me double check. John, so there's 2 articles. I could not find the second username. So shout out to, let's see if these will load up. First one, shout out to John Scheringer. So this is one of the articles that I went to that really kind of just stepped me up and said, okay, this is what people are doing. But also this one, so username SMCCANN. It looks like, I think it's from Instructure. She posted this link a while back, and I found it. And to me, this launched my step, right? And so it was really, for me, like if I'm telling someone new, don't be worried about the sequel, because there's tons of stuff out there that can show you what to do. And so really, it's just getting a copy of something and then just going kind of line by line and say, okay, this is what this does. This is what this does. And really starting from, don't try to start from scratch. To me, like, I'm more of like, find somebody that's already done something. Like I said, you're welcome to have a copy of this workbook. You're welcome to have a copy of the sequel. Because, and I feel like I need to share it because everything, other stuff was shared with me, and that's how I got started. But it's like I said, it's really just, at the end of the day, you're just telling a story, right? And you don't have to have, like, I mean, granted, we have this very big, large workbook now, but at the very beginning, if you would have saw what we had in March, it was just basically just like a table, and it just had numbers. It didn't have all this visualizations. It was just raw numbers, just so we could tell quick story. And so that's where we started. And so, I think initially it's just start small. You don't have to build these massive reports from the very beginning, because that's where, to me, that's where it got daunting, where it was like, okay, where am I going to start? Like, I've got to do something. Like, I don't know what to tell the story. Like, I have so much out there. I have so much data. Like, I don't know what are people interested in. And then it was just really, it's just starting small with like, okay, well, what's our course usage? All right. And then what's this usage? And it was really just numbers. It was just a title and a number. And that's all it was that we were pulling back first. And then from there, this is kind of where it branched out to be. So I would say start small. Don't be afraid to get a copy of something and just reverse engineer it, break it, stuff like that. And that the community is your friend, right? There's a great Canvas data community out there. So reach out to them, reach out to your CSM if they can provide any help as well. Don't try to be an island. If you're trying to be an island, it's going to be very difficult. And that's one thing I always try to encourage people, that there's probably someone else out there that you can lean on that's done this before. At least can, if you get stuck, to push you in the other direction or push you in the right direction.
Tyler, if people want more information or want to connect with you, where's the best place? What's the best avenue?
Yeah, so they can shoot me an email. And so what should be on the website as well. So if we go back to our website, let's go to our about page. So let's see here on our staff page. Yeah, so right here, here's my information. If you want to meet with me, I even have a Go Leak. So if you want to schedule a meeting, you're more than welcome to do that as well. Just go uab.edu/meet with Tyler. But there's my information right there. Shoot me an email. I'd love to talk about it. It's something that's become a very big passion for me. And, I'm excited to see where we go next.
It's awesome. Let's close with this comment from your friend Jared Watson. The discussions with faculty and administration across campus to figure out what information would be useful was key. Tyler did a great job scoping that data, and that was important. Thanks, Jared. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. Big shout out to UAB. They're doing some really incredible stuff in the data front, and we're excited to see where it goes in the future. Jonathan's going to make sure to keep me apprised so that we can kind of shout from the rooftops the great stuff that Pam and Tyler and Jared and everybody else are doing. With that, thanks for coming. Have a great weekend, everybody. We are back Monday morning, 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time, to talk about CanvasCon and why higher ed specific groups need to be attending. What are some of the things you're going to get out of it? So we'll see you on Monday. Have a great day, everybody. See you soon.
See you, everyone.